Before I say something I'm about to say, let me make something very clear. As things stand today, if Peter Obi is on the ballot in 2027, which I pray, hope and I know he will definitely be, if he's on the ballot, I would most definitely support his presidency. Not because I think he's a perfect man, and not because I believe he has every answer to Nigeria's problem. Far from that. Certainly not because I believe one man can magically fix this country. If you have followed me long enough on this channel, you already know I don't believe in political messiahs. And to the best of my knowledge, nations are never transformed by one extraordinary leader alone. They are transformed when ordinary citizens begin embracing extraordinary values. But here's the thing. When I look at the major political figures before Nigeria today, and I consider Peter Obi's public record, the values he has consistently projected, his emphasis on accountability, prudence, fiscal discipline, simplicity, respect for institutions, production over consumption, and responsible governance. I personally, honestly believe those are qualities Nigeria desperately needs in leadership today. So, no, this is not an anti-Obi video. If anything, it's because I sincerely desire a Peter Obi's presidency. That is why I'm making this video. Because if we truly want him to succeed, then we must first have one uncomfortable conversation. Peter Obi has millions of followers, but I honestly think he has very few Obedients. And yes, there's a difference, a huge difference. We live in a generation where following someone has become incredibly cheap. Follow them on Facebook, subscribe on their YouTube, wear their t-shirts, attend their rally, change your profile picture to theirs, post their picture, defend them online. That is easy. But obedience has never been cheap, because followers admire, but obedient imitates. Followers celebrate personalities, but obedient practice principles. Followers become excited when their leader speaks, but obedient continue living the values even when the leader is absent. There's a difference between carrying somebody's banner and carrying their values. And trust me, history has always known the difference. And perhaps no one illustrates this better than Jesus Christ himself. Before there was a Peter Obi, before there was Mandela, before the likes of Martin Luther King Jr., before Gandhi, history has always shown us the difference between followers and transformed people. Jesus had followers, thousands of them. Everywhere he went, crowds gathered. When he fed the 5,000, they followed. When he healed the sick, they followed. When he opened blind eyes, they followed. When he raised Lazarus from the dead, they followed. Everywhere miracles happened, crowds appeared. But then, something changed. Jesus began talking less about miracles and more about sacrifices. He began talking less about bread and more about commitment. Less about what people could receive and more about the kind of people they needed to become. And suddenly, many disappeared. The crowds became smaller. Judas betrayed him. Peter denied him. Most of the others ran away. The same voices that once shouted, "Hosanna," will soon cry, "Crucify him." Followers are often loud while everything is exciting. But principles reveal themselves when following becomes costly. Then came the resurrection. Then came Pentecost. Then came transformation. Then something happened to those ordinary men. They no longer simply admired Jesus. They began to resemble him. Their courage changed. Their priorities changed. Their character changed. And their lives changed. Now, they served like him. They sacrificed like him. They loved like him. And they endured persecution like him. And they also refused to compromise like him. Now, the teachings of Christ were no longer just words they admired. Stay with me. They became values they lived. Then the book of Acts tells us something very remarkable, that the disciples were first called Christians in Antioch. You notice something? They didn't organize a conference and they voted to call themselves Christians. No, that wasn't the case. They didn't print t-shirt either. Neither did they create a slogan. The people around them gave them that name. Why? Because when society looked at their lives, they saw people who belonged to Christ, people whose conduct increasingly reflected the one they claimed to follow. That is the difference between admiration and transformation. Now, which brings me to His Excellency Peter Obi, who is an obedient. If someone tells me I'm obedient, my first question is not, did you vote for Peter Obi? No. My question is much deeper. Does your life reflect the values that made you support him? Because every time I listen to Peter Obi, I hear him speak about accountability, prudence, fiscal discipline, respect for institutions, rule of law, production instead of consumption, simplicity, civility, national unity, and responsible leadership. If those are the values that attracted us to him, shouldn't those values begin to appear in us? Because if society looked at people who call themselves obedient today, what would they see? That is your comfortable question. Let me be clear. This video is not about questioning anyone's support for Peter Obi. Every Nigerian has the constitutional right to support whoever they believe can best lead this country. This video is about something that is much deeper: character. Because history has taught me something. Movements eventually become known by the character of the people inside them, not merely by the popularity of the man at the top. I have met many Obidients who are very thoughtful, respectful, informed, humble, and genuinely committed to building a better Nigeria. They don't insult people, they don't spread lies, they engage with facts. They disagree, for sure, but without becoming disrespectful. They inspire hope. They are exactly the kind of citizens every democracy needs. But I have also seen something else. I have seen people who call themselves obedient, yet insult anyone who asks a sincere question. I have seen people spread unverified information simply because it helps our side. I have also seen people excuse wrongdoing because it was committed by someone they support. I have seen people become tribal, impatient, and intolerant while claiming to represent a movement built on accountability. If we condemn those behaviors in other political camps, then we must reject them in our own. Otherwise, we are not changing politics. We are only changing Jesus. Followers defend personalities. Obedients defend values, defend principles. Followers ask, how do I protect my candidate? Obedients ask, how do I protect the values that made me support my candidate in the first place? Because if I still celebrate dishonesty when it benefits me, if I still spread falsehood because it favors my preferred candidate, if I still excuse corruption because my people are involved, if I still insult people instead of engaging their ideas, then I am not building a new Nigeria. I am simply repainting the old one with new colors. Maybe Peter Obi doesn't need more followers. Maybe Nigeria needs more obedient people whose lives reflect the values they admire, people who defend principles before the election, during the election, and after the election. Because elections may change governments, but only transformed citizens change nations. And maybe the first true obedient should be the person staring back at me in the mirror. Because if Peter Obi becomes president tomorrow and I don't change, then I was never obedient. I was only a follower. I am extra. And this is the road Africa. I'll be back.